Hello friends, in this session we'll see the demonstration for web services. So first of all, what are web services? These are nothing but these are the functionalities over internet. So here all my web services can be available on web servers and my clients are requesting for that particular web services. So let's create an application which uses web services. So we are creating a new project. I'm just giving the name of this project as web services demonstration. So let's create an empty application. So here I'll add a web service. So its extension is .asmx. So I'm giving this as my web service. So when you create a web service, its extension will be .asmx. Now you will find the related namespaces are automatically loaded. Now let's demonstrate this application by creating a web service which will include functionality of some databases. So I'm including namespace of system.data and we'll use using system.data.sql client. So these namespaces we are including. Now under this particular web service class, I'm just using their classes. So connection. So where we are going to give the connection URL. We'll use SQL data adapter. So basically what we are doing, we are fetching up the record from the database and we are going to display the data records onto the client application. So basically this web service will consist of a logic of fetching the data from the database layer. I'm using data set for fetching the record. Now I'll add one method, like for example one of the method is already available. So I'm creating my own method which will communicate with the database for retrieving the data. So I'll use fetch, let's say customer. I'm using data set as a return type and I'll return here data set. Now here I'm going to write a logic for fetching up the records. So here basically I need to establish the connection first. So here I can use already had a con which will establish a connection. So I'll use data adapter equals to new SQL data adapter. Here I'll write a SQL query select star from customer and connection object. Then I'll fill that data set with the customer table. And I'll return the data set. So here I'm using a disconnected architecture. Now here we require a data connection. So here we require a connection string. So what we'll do, add a database here, adding a new item. I'm using data and SQL Server database. So it's a DB customer. This is my MDF file. So it will create an MDF file in the app data folder. And this customer MDF, DB customer MDF, I'll add a table. So this table will consist of some record. Just giving the table name customer. So we created the table. Just update it. So here table has been created. Just click on refresh. So you'll find customer table. Now let's add some record here. So we'll add customer ID. So yeah, record has been added. Okay, so let's close this because you have done with the database part. Now we have to provide the connection string. So what you're going to do is just right click on the property of this MDF file. You'll find this connection string here. Provide @ symbol and just provide this connection. So we're done with this database. Now we have to use this method on the client side. So let's create a client application which will consume this particular web service. So before that, let's execute this web service whether it is working properly or not. So you can just execute, right click and execute it. Meanwhile, we'll create a client application. So we'll find these two web services are now available. I'm creating a separate client application. So I'm creating a new project. ASP.NET Web application. Now my customer application is my client application. Now we have to use that web service and this client application. So what you're going to do, we're just adding the reference of that particular web service in my client application. So what you're going to do, you have to just right click on this project, add service reference. In that service reference you have an option of advanced, you have an add web reference. Now I'll just find out that web service path, paste it here and click on go. So you'll find this web service is fetched, right? You can add the reference, give the reference name if you want to change. So I kept by default reference name as local host. So reference has been added. Now the next thing is add a page for the client. Let's keep this as it is for form 1. Now take a grid view control over here so that I can show the customer records directly. Grid view control will be there in data. I'll just drag it here. Now come to the code behind page. In the page load, we want to show that data, so I need to create the reference of that web service. So my web service, I'm creating the object equals to new my web service. Now we want to attach it with the grid view control. So grid view 1 dot data source equals to obj dot fetch customer and grid view 1 dot data bind. So build this and try to execute this. So having some error regarding, so the error is somewhere in invoking. So just go to the server application, returning the data set. So here what we did, we haven't created the instance of that data set. ds equals to new data set. Just click it. Now build this app service again. Again, just build it. Now here you need to just update the reference. Right click, update web reference, and run this application again. So in client application, sorry, so we have to execute that application of webform1.hpx. So just execute it. Stop this and execute your webform.hpx. So here comes the data. Thank you.